Welcome to another edition of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and Friends. This episode is brought to you by RMK Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network. Our mission is using the power of a story. We want to uplift, inspire, share experiences and perspectives using the framework of teaching, learning, and modeling. Our purpose is hope, helping other people every day. This show originally was created from more than the 300, I'm messing up today, from the 300 quotes that I created for the contents of my books. Always curious of how one quote landed on another person, whether words that just laid there on the page or whether a conversation that need to be had. So this created the original show here, talking with Kevin and Friends. I'm going back and forth. So we toss it out as an open-ended conversation, and based on the interpretation and or perception, we talk about the quotes. My name is Kevin McLemore. I am your host, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Christopher and Gilda James, Ife Ekamura, the go-to guy, Denise Lopes, Andrea Lyman, and the voice, Otis Spencer. So, Otis, if you would be so kind to deliver us the quote for this Sunday.
You are either shackled to someone else's dream, which makes you an access, or you are docked to someone else's dream, using their dream as a resource to help you create the framework for your dreams to come true, which makes you a liability.
All right. So being docked to someone else's dream makes you an asset, or you're a liability. Christopher, I'm going to start with Miss Gilda James. How does this quote land on you? I know I say Christopher, I meant Gilda. I apologize. I told you this is what happens when you got TBI. Your head is all screwed up and whatever. So I appreciate you guys supporting me. I got another concussion. So the TBI stands for traumatic brain injury. So please bear with me today if I kind of screw it up, whatever. The show has a lot of importance to a lot of people every Sunday. So I'm going to make some mistakes today. So please bear with me. So how does this quote land on you, Gilda?
It's a lot of thought in this quote. And I can't really come up with a straight answer on it, but I'm going to have to pass on this one. I'm sorry.
Right, let me get back to you. Let me explain to everyone why this quote became part of a presentation I had. You know, we all show up every single day and we work for someone. Mm-hmm. Someone else creates a company, creates an environment and whatever, and that is their dream, to build a corporation, to build an internet site or whatever case may be. When someone employs you, they acquire, like everything else, an asset. You are an asset. You show up every single day, and with the intentions of creating a product and supporting someone else's dream. In the event that you have dreams of your own, to a company that's looking for you to be there 6 months, 10 years, 25 years, retire, whatever, without a gold watch, you become a liability. Because no matter how talented you are, if I cannot retain you. So when I created RMK Productions, basically I wanted to create a framework with every single day that I showed up. And I created an environment to where I wanted my people to be successful. And I only wanted to surround myself with people that showed up for RMK Productions in order to be equally as successful. So at the end of the day, everyone wins. So when you talk about liabilities and assets, in order for someone not to feel that they are a liability, they have to have some skin in the game. So when I created the framework of my company, I said in the event that I make $1, I will share that dollar with everyone in there. And in the event that someone has something they want to add to it, I will value. So we work within the yes and project. Instead of saying, no, it won't work, we said, go ahead, put it out there and prove it. And in the event that it does work, it's yours. And you get compensated based on that. So that's where that quote came from. So if I repeat that again, you're either shackled to someone else's dream, someone else's job you show up for, which makes you an asset. There's nothing wrong with working for someone else and doing your own thing. But if you have the desire to be more today than you were yesterday, you use that job as your resource. Shows you how to show up every day at work, shows you how to punch in, shows you how to be productive, shows you how to set goals and so forth. In the event that you have aspirations to be more today or have your own dreams, to that company, you are now a liability, because unless they create a framework in order to retain you, you will go off, you will take your boat, you will undock from the dock, and you will sail off to your dream. So, Otis, understanding the quote and how it landed on me, how do you see this?
Just thinking about employment, that employer, yes, they like you while you're there, but once they don't need you anymore, you're gone. But yet, as you are, if you're an employee, and depending what your position is, if you're in management, then you are now also creating your own ideas that you can now take and move out on your own. Such as when I was in parking management, learning how to work on spreadsheets, doing budgeting. Does that help me personally? It absolutely does. And I take that and I try to share some of those ideas to help other people succeed. So I will not necessarily ever totally be attached to that employer.
And I appreciate that, and I want people to think about it. It's a long quote today, but we all have to look at where we are today and where we want to be tomorrow. Andrea, this also applies to what you guys do in the entertainment field, as far as the way to right now that the writers are out on strike right now. When you look at this quote and apply it to your personal life, your professional life, you're either shackled to someone else's dream, which makes you an asset, or you are docked as someone else's dream, where you're using their resources to help you create a framework for your dream. That means that you're learning, you're modeling until your dream comes true, which for any company or any business or even in relationships makes you a liability. How does that land with you?
This is a complicated quote. I guess it would have to do, like, I'm thinking we're on strike right now. So in that way, to some companies, we'd be a liability, but where it is an asset is we have something called the interim agreement. And what's happening now is the smaller companies that are making films are saying, okay, we'll do everything that that's in your contract, everything that you've proposed. We'll abide by that. We'll abide by the raise. We'll abide by not having AI. We'll abide by all of that. And so their films are going forth, and they're getting the actors and they're getting the publicity and all of that kind of stuff. And they're the smaller companies, whereas the big companies, which is the ones that supposedly we wanted all along under the AMPTP, the studios and streamers, they're saying, no, we're not going to abide by what you want. We're going to make this unfair kind of a thing and not equitable. And we're going to use our computers to replace you, and we're going to try not to pay you and things like that. And so the talent has left them, the writing talent and the acting talent. And so, yeah, they say, well, we're going to keep all the marbles, but you have all the marbles and nothing, and you can't do anything. They don't have a script. They don't have the actors, they don't have anything, because they've decided to keep it all. Whereas the smaller productions have said, you know what, the most important thing is the production for us, and we like being fair, and we like being equitable, and we like using real people for writers and actors. And so it's creating, we hope, a new world where a lot of independent films are rising to the top, and what used to be the huge stuff is not. So we actors and we writers said, you know what? We want to stand for what we believe in. I hope that goes. It probably doesn't go with your thing. I don't know.
No, that explains
But that's just what I see. The what used to be the big thing and the big goal for everyone is now not so much. We have another avenue to during the strike. We have another way to go, and now I think we're going to be seeing films that we wouldn't have seen ordinarily, because we would have just been seeing the big budgets, which is the same thing over and over and over again with all the big budget. And you say, why did they spend all this money on this? And now we see these quiet, powerful films. People's voices are heard now that wouldn't necessarily have been heard.
And that's the power of having choice. And when you have choice and you go against what the system is already there, the liability is that your dreams are allowed to live and thrive. And so with that industry itself, congratulations. Denise, I know you're waiting to go ahead and, hop on your dream. And educator, you are an asset. They Indeed and all these other places are looking for educators, because there's not many of you guys left, because educators have turned into entrepreneurs. How does this land on you? You're either shackled to someone else's dream, which makes you an asset, or you are docked to someone else's dream, using their resources to help you create a framework of your dream or your dreams to come true, which makes you a liability. How does that land with you?
For me, it lands this way. You need a job, like everybody needs a job. So if you go to job 9 to 5, when you get home, just to do something about your dream. The time you have, like, work on your dream. So if you're on break on that job, keep working. Like, if you have a dream, you need to work on it, and don't depend on somebody, and don't let anyone dictate how your life should be. I know everybody needs a job. You need to live, especially right now in this economy. But when you get home, after you get out of that job, focus on your dream. Give like 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and find your resources. And if there's resources at the job that you are at right now, just use them, because they're going to benefit you. And for me, it's like, don't let anyone dictate what your destiny is, what you're supposed to be, what's your purpose.
And that's true, to go to your purpose. Thank you. All right. I wish I had a teacher like you when I was growing up. I would have been much smarter. Thank you. Ife, that go-to guy, entertainment entrepreneur. How you doing, Ife?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
All right. How does this quote land on you? And I know it's long because I wrote it and I'm a little wordy every now and then. How does it land on you?
I look at it as, of course, there's the asset and liability part, but I also look at it as being selfish and selfless, in that certain situations are selfish in that they want you to be a certain way or give of yourself for a certain time. But then if you're creating an opportunity and you're doing it with pure motives and incentives, you're being selfless because you're taking the time to dive into yourself and possibly set up a platform or an opportunity that can not only just benefit you or others. Like, a lot of our reality is based on somebody being courageous enough to say it's not here yet, or maybe the situation's not there, but their belief in their dreams is so strong that they made it happen. There's a lot of inventions, a lot of platforms that started off as only a thought, and that thought became a driving force. That driving force ultimately became a concept. That concept turned into a reality, and that now our shared reality is better because somebody was courageous enough to make it happen. So I feel like this quote is inspiration for dreamers. Yes, do what you need to do so that you can survive, pay your bills, have a roof over your head, have food, have clothing. But at the same time, your dreams are important, because living your life without fulfilling your dreams is living a subpar existence, and no one wants to live subpar.
Wow. I missed you, Ife. Welcome back.
Hey,
and you're bringing the nuggets. All right. Gilda James. All right. You probably had a little time to think about this right now. All right. This quote doesn't necessarily apply to just your work relationships. This quote applies to life and your relationships with life and the people that you have in your life. How's this land with you?
Well, for me, now that I heard everyone else answers, I'm thinking about when I used to work for the government. And the government's good with if you have any ideas about making the office, the improvement of anything that can help other people as far as office wise. And then I'm good with coming up with different ideas. And it so happened that during that time, computers was coming in, and everyone was new at computers. And so they they wanted to find a way how to get the computers started before we began work at 8 o'clock. And so I came up with the idea was to want to run them before we get to work, like maybe 2 or 3 hours before work. This way it'll be online, so we can be able to service the civilians and military efficiently by getting a head start by bringing the computers up. And so they work with that idea, and from what it ended up to be as I'm sorry about my voice, it's horrible.
That's okay.
I'm trying to express myself, and that's one of the difficult things I can do, is try to do that. And I'm trying to get better at it. So from that idea, I got an award for making that suggestion on improving the workload of the office with the computers, you know.
All right.
So
Well,
I just want to share that. But from that, that's from doing this, it gave me ideas and dreams. I said, well, if I could figure out this way, maybe there's I could use this at my next job or in life itself.
all right.
I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
We understand and we love you, and I'm
Thank
glad you shared that with us. Christopher James. All right. How does this land on you?
Well, in respect to different lenses and different perspectives, different viewpoints, I didn't exactly see this in a job or employment realm. I saw it, I guess, from my original job, parenting. Okay, oftentimes we'll shackle our children with our own dreams. And in this particular case, the asset and liability label sort of flips, because when we're trying to live or have our children live, have our children live through our dreams, we're more or less shackling them with a liability. In other words, now we expect them to do what we have in our mind, and it may not reflect what they in fact have in their own minds. Now, oftentimes, and I try to avoid this, but in the perfect parenting situation, that dream that the parent has will simply be a framework for the child. And the child will take that framework and then build from that and create their own dream. And they're definitely going to be an asset, both to themselves and to the parent, and to whatever field they find themselves in. But that's the weird thing about my mind. When I saw that, I didn't think of employment. I didn't think of a job or an employer. I thought of my first job as a parent, and trying desperately not to place my ideas and dreams into my children's head so that they're going to go out and be little robots or remote operatives of myself, but to have their own dreams and to be their own people and build from those dreams into a great and beautiful person, a lot greater and more beautiful than their parents ever were.
That was so eloquently said. That was beautiful, and that's another take. And that's the reason why quotes. I've always been curious of how they landed on people, because I know when I originally wrote it, I used shackled as a word because some people won't let go. They're afraid to launch, and they stay in a place, and that could be a relationship. And like you eloquently put it, that could be passing on what you've been taught to your children and what you caught being passed down. and allowing your children or the people that you influence in order to have their own interpretation and their own perspective and how they put it out into the world. Being an asset is nothing wrong with that. Being a liability is nothing wrong with that. Depending on who we are talking to and what situation we're dealing with, we become one or both at some times. But the key thing is provide an opportunity for hope. Provide an opportunity for you to do service. And provide an opportunity for you to live your life as your true self and your one self, if that makes sense in there. And so no matter how your interpretation of this quote may land on you, there's nothing wrong with, retiring from a company that you love to work with. There's nothing wrong with being in a relationship that other people seem that on the outside say it's challenging. Your assets and your liability is where your heart lands at night. All right. And it's just based on interpretation and perspective, what you can live with. But there's nothing wrong with having a dream. There's absolutely nothing wrong with living your dream. The only thing is wrong about having a dream if you don't live the dream.
Right.
So with that said, I want to thank everyone for riding with me today, for coming in here, because when I created this show, I wanted to promote every single person that was on this show. So in the event that you are one of the powers to be, please take Otis. Please take Christopher, Ife, Andrea, Naheem, David, Denise. Provide them with an opportunity for their dream to come true, because I don't look at them as a liability. I look at them as my family. I am the asset here. And I want to thank everyone. I want to thank my listeners for coming in and tuning in. If you like what you've heard, go to RMK Productions and Network on our YouTube page, subscribe and follow. Now, remember, I'm not crazy about the big numbers, and like everyone else, whatever, I'm looking for people that have a higher call to action. You'll hear me say this over and over again. The people that follow and subscribe are people that don't drive by an accident. They stop to help, which my team does every single day. They come in to help me. I allow myself to be truly and authentic. I'm not 100% today, and they pull me together. And I thank you. I am blessed to have people that say when they love me, they actually mean that they love me. So I thank you. And for your listeners, quit pretending to be something you're not, and just be you, and allow people to accept you who you are, and give someone a hug today. So with that said, my grandfather always told me, when you get to a point that you can help someone else, he said, it's your duty to do so. So this is all about service. Reach one, teach one. And we love you, America, and we'll fade to black. And we're out.